You could get to Jessica and you could get to Mel on 75. Both of those things are true. But where are you going? Even if you coming to see both of us, you still need to plan your route because there's over 1,000 miles between us. And the same road, the same path, it will get you to both of us, but you have to decide which direction, the vehicle that you'll use, how much is it going to be to get there, how long will it take, what rest do you need so that you can accomplish the mission. And then if you come to see both of us, why? For what? What you need? What you need to be in my face for?
Good evening. Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to another episode of the Getting the Win Show. I am your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. As always, my mission with this show is to help women who've navigated a trauma or transition find healing through writing and publishing their first book. There is no better person to talk about this with than my guest this week. It is Jessica Holley. She's been a regular on the show, and it's always a pleasure to have her back. But she has a book on the way, so we talk a little bit about it. And then we get into just the particulars of knowing when to end a relationship, how to navigate relationships when things begin to change, when you and the person that you're in the relationship with begin to grow apart, whether it's family, romantic relationships, friendships. We get into the mechanics of those relationship dynamics when things start to grow apart and the way that you can head some of this stuff off as well. Like we talk about several solutions and tools in this episode to help you navigate your relationships, to help you make sense of the relationships that perhaps have already ended in your life or perhaps have already gone on pause. Like we help you navigate those and reframe what has happened in a healthy way so you can heal and continue to grow. All right. So enjoy this interview, enjoy this episode. And fun fact, Jessica is joining me for the author activation weekend. So we talk about that towards the end of the episode. So stick around to the very end of the episode so you can hear what's coming up at the author activation weekend, what you can expect, and what Jess will be doing there with us. Enjoy. Jess, welcome again to the show. Thank you always for coming on. I appreciate you.
Of course, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be back. It feels like returning home. So I'm excited to get into it today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's dive right into this book that is on the way. Y'all, Jessica's the host of Everybody Can't Go Combos. But for her, Everybody Can't Go is an entire movement. It is an entire brand for her. And she is someone that is a coach, a consultant, a speaker, and she helps people understand the journey of relationships because not all of the relationships in our lives are permanent. Some of them are seasonal. Some of them are meant for you to just learn a specific lesson and get up out of there. And Jessica helps people contextualize that to be able to heal and grow and move forward. So she has a book by that same name, Everybody Can't Go. And that book is the one that is on the way. So Jess, please break it down for our people. Like, let us know
All
what's to
right.
come when that book is released.
Okay. So, in just a couple short weeks here, we will, and I say finally, have the title Everybody Can't Go book, the book that became the brand and then became an entire movement, the book that actually inspired the brand and all of the other things that came out of me sharing one of my stories in life. And it started out as what now looks to be a very small idea that I like to say that I come in with what I think is an idea, and what I'm really bringing is a little seed. And then when I get in certain rooms with certain folks, and Mel, you are one of them, that little seed that I bring in there that I'm like, yes, here it is. This is the great thing. And it's like, oh, no, no, hold on, because this is what we're going to do. And so the book itself, I say that it's finally being published because I actually started the journey to publishing this book. The journey began at a time that I didn't even know that I was in the midst of a journey. Back in 2017, 2018 is when all of the things in life started to occur. And I made the decision in 2021 or 2022, 21, 22. I don't know, one of those years. Several years after the life experience, I decided that I would be brave and go ahead and step out and choose to write a book about my experience with how the relationship dynamics in my life changed as a result of my growth. While I was going through it, I had a lot of feelings. It was a lot of feelings. And there were things that betrayal, jealousy, fake outrage, other people not being able to handle or articulate their emotions in a healthy way. There were boundaries and boundaryless relationships, and there were so many different things that I learned from the life experience that I had of friends. Now I consider it being pruned away from me and being pruned off of my bush so that I could continue to grow, because I was growing regardless.
Mhm.
But I didn't realize that some people that I thought who were meant to bloom with me in my life, they were serving as weeds, and they were stifling the growth of my rose bush. So I went through and shared some of the key lessons that I learned from what at the time felt like a just a drama filled soap opera. Like, and I'm like, why is this like reality TV and nobody's getting paid? Like, what are y'all doing? Like, no, I don't perform for free. No, thank you. Like, it was a mess.
Yep.
And even though for everyone else, the situation doesn't have to be a mess, it doesn't have to be drama filled. You don't have to be a fake housewife of wherever, or house husband of wherever. But I wanted to share my experience with other people so that as you're making that transition, because it's not if it's gonna come, it's when. Because if you're here, you're one of those kind of people. Somebody who is committed to becoming a better person, the best version of you that you could possibly be. You are a person who is committed to your growth. You're a person who's committed to becoming your best self. And so on that journey, I guarantee you it's going to happen if it has not already, or if it's not happening right now, it's coming. That there are going to be some relationships that do not serve you. And there is a way to break away, but still feel empowered with being okay with letting people go, and or allowing yourself to be released so that you can continue on to your higher heights.
There are several important points in there, so I'm glad you shared all of that. Number one, you talked about, well, first of all, let me just touch on the one at the end there, like being able to release people. That is one of the most common sticking points in relationships, like knowing when to let someone go. I'll be honest with you, that's a struggle of mine. Like separation anxiety is something I've been dealing with since childhood because we used to move around a lot. And so, and in some of our situations, it wasn't a complete family package move. Like there were times when one parent would have to stay behind for logistical reasons. There were times when they did the switch and like the other parent moved with us and the other parent had to, like, so there are times when like people are afraid to let go of past relationships for fear of being lonely, fear of the unknown, because they might not know what's coming in the absence of the person that they knew, the familiar, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection for anybody that's new that they try to meet. So I'm glad you talked about the importance of letting people go. What are some tools or a tool that you would recommend for somebody that is struggling with that? Or how should they reframe their situation if they have to let somebody go?
The number one thing that I would say, and this is where I start any client, this is where I start anybody that I'm coaching, this is where I start you in the book, writing your vision. And the reason why I start there is because it doesn't matter what you do after. If you don't write your vision first, you don't have a North Star, you don't have a thermometer for gauging whether or not it's okay for you to release somebody, or whether it's actually okay, even though it might hurt, it's still okay that somebody else released you.
Mm.
Because if you haven't written your vision down for your life, you don't know where you're going. You just living. And you could be living a good life too. You could be having a real good time. You could be a busy bee doing a bunch of things here, there, everywhere, but all of those things aren't necessarily building toward the life you want. And if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know what you're building, you don't have any way to measure whether or not the people around you are supposed to be there. Are you pouring into their life the way that you're supposed to? And vice versa. Are they pouring into your life the way that you need and the way that they're supposed to? And dare I say, even relationships that you can't get rid of. Okay, yeah, your kids might be too, but what is your vision? Because even though your children are babies, the way that you raise them, the way that you lead them, is going to be determined on where you're going, or the lack of. You don't know where you're going. You just you just living, baby just living. And that in itself is such an important piece of the level of success that you and the people around you, that your lineage, your legacy, any of those things is always going to be determined by, did you write down your vision as step number one? That is your starting point. Because without that, I mean, you can say that you don't, well, I don't want to be a part of that relationship. Or and when I say relationship, I mean any type of relationship. What, friendship, familial relationships, platonic, business, the relationship between yourself and your employer, your 9 to 5 employer, and vice versa, the relationship between you and your employees or subordinates, any of that. You can say, oh, well, it didn't feel good, so that's why I no longer want to be in a relationship with that person. But if you don't have that roadmap, if you don't have your vision written down, it's very easy to overlook that the reason why it didn't feel good to be in relationship with that person, because you're the problem. You ain't even able to identify that you're the problem or even consider it if you don't know where you're going.
That
You can get to both of us on I-75. But if you start in Tennessee, there is look, you got to go 75 north to get to Detroit, and you got to go 75 south to get down to Florida. So at the end of the day, if you're a person that's just, you got to get on 75, you could get to Jessica and you could get to Mel on 75. Both of those things are true. But where are you going? Even if you coming to see both of us, you still need to plan your route, because there's over 1,000 miles between us, and the same road, the same path, it will get you to both of us, but you have to decide which direction, the vehicle that you'll use, how much is it going to be to get there, how long will it take, what rest do you need so that you can accomplish the mission. And then if you come to see both of us, why? For what? What you need? What you need to be in my face for?
well, and the other thing too is, how do you want to feel when you reach the destination? Not a lot of people talk about that, but in that's the perfect metaphor, because I mean, we talking Detroit versus Florida, two opposite ends of the country. Were you trying to head to a winter vacation or to a summer one? Because that determines what direction you go in. If you're looking for summer weather and you head north, you going the wrong way, you're going to be very upset by the time you reach that destination, because you're going to be like, this didn't work. And you'll blame the process or the roadmap when you weren't clear on what you wanted at the end, which is why Stephen Covey said, begin with the end in mind, which is why Jessica is saying, write the vision. Be clear on what the end is and how you want to feel when you're at the end, so that you can craft the roadmap backwards to where you
And
are. Mm-hmm.
another thing to what you just said, I'm glad that you brought up the winter. When considering coming to Detroit, coming to Michigan, timing is very important, because in the dead middle of July, you can get some 90-degree days, whether you're in Florida or whether you're in Michigan. But timing is going to make all of the difference. especially you talking about some Detroit weather. It was 33 degrees one day and 72 the next. And you
That
talking about a headache. But look, I took me some Tylenol and I kept it right on moving. But the timing aspect of it as well, if you aren't looking at the beginning with the end in mind, you, like you said, you accomplished and checked off every other box. But if you're supposed to be there in July, but you come north in December expecting some July weather, you're gonna look around and say, "What is this? And what have I done?" Thinking that you wasted your time, thinking that everything that you did was wrong. But no, you did all the right things. But timing is a part of it as well.
that's great. That's a great point for sure. I also wanted to go back to a couple of the other points you mentioned in the beginning there. One of them you talked about is outrage, and in some cases, fake outrage, like dealing with conflict. This is a very important aspect of relationships. And in some cases, will end up in a situation where somebody had to go, but probably didn't need to separate from the person. So having that emotional intelligence to know when something is simply a misunderstanding versus when it's somebody you need to get rid of altogether.
Hmm.
Like I would love for you to unpack that distinction because it's very important. And there's a skill in there that we need to have to be able to tell that difference.
So to be able to tell the difference, oh, there's so well. Not, I'm not going to say so many factors, but there are a few different factors that I would recommend that people pay attention to, because when you're looking at a separation, sometimes it depends on sometimes the separation will only be for a season. Sometimes the separation is permanent, and sometimes that separation, it will come with no contact,
Mm,
depending on the level of severity of why you guys need to go your separate ways, but also depending on, again, going back to your vision, where are you going?
mm-hmm,
Because no matter where someone else says that they're headed, or whether they do have their vision written down or not, you know where you're on a path to. So when you're looking at when to separate from someone, there you'll see that the path that you're on, the way that you're living, the things that you need to do, sometimes the changes that you need to make, you will be the one that you're straying away from the herd, because that what looks like you straying away from the group is you getting further away from that group, but you're getting closer to your vision. You're getting closer to your goals. Now, does that mean that when you get to a certain level that you're still going to be there alone? No. There will be a period where you will be alone. Just because you're alone does not mean that you're lonely.
mm-hmm.
That is a choice. But sometimes you do have to travel a bit of your path alone so that you're able to get to being one with yourself. For, we love Jesus around here, where you need to communicate with just you and the Lord, and so that you can be fully prepared to assimilate into the next group for you to continue your growth path. And it is sometimes when it's not you doing the separating, where you're separating away from the group, sometimes there may be a person or two, especially if you are a leader. Now,
Mm,
let's just do the stats. Only about 12% of people were actually born leaders. That's
yep.
one of those things that is on social media and everywhere. And so everybody thinks that they're a leader. No, you're not. 88% of the time, you're not. But there are a lot of people who learned the qualities of being a leader and have studied the traits of the greats. And so they're able to become a leader or become a good leader or in a leadership role. But part of what comes with that is sometimes you have to make the hard decision, and you do have to be the bad guy. Because understand, whether you leave or whether you need to have the conversation where someone else leaves, it you're going to be the villain in someone else's story somewhere at some point in your lifetime. You can't get through. I mean, look, Jesus couldn't do it. He was the villain in a handful of people's stories. And so, like, let's just try to stop escaping it. Now, does that mean that you have to intentionally go out here and start acting like 50 or something? No, you don't. Like, don't
Please don't.
misconstrue my words because I will talk about you. I will come to your comments if you clip it and be like, well, Jessica said, I am going to talk about you. And if you're being stupid, I'm going to tell you you're being stupid. Don't do that. But there is a time where you're going to have to accept that while and I just go ahead and use it in a noun form, but really what it is in some people's version of events you will become villainized.
Mm-hmm.
That's so you don't necessarily have to be the villain, you don't have to take on the title of being the villain. But that I just say it that way because that's how I say it. But there is going to be a time that for your choices and doing what's best for you, you will be villainized. And it's not necessarily because you've done anything wrong. It's because usually people are willing to plaster that label on you because they're hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
let's take it a step further. Sometimes people will slap that label on you because they have faults of their own with not wanting to accept responsibility, with not wanting to take accountability, with not being aware of their piss poor communication, with not being, on a growth journey of their own. And sometimes at the end of the day, and I'm going to tread lightly when I say this, because you really have to examine when somebody uses that rhetoric with you. Oh, well, you think you better than me now because you insert whatever. I'm not saying that you have to tolerate being spoken to or treated any type of way, but what I am telling you is take a sit back in your seat and really, really think about it. Because at a certain point in your growth journey, there are behaviors that it is now beneath you because you have risen up, because you have grown yourself. When things grow, they either grow wide or they grow tall. Either way, you have exceeded that behavior, you've exceeded that environment, you've exceeded those actions, you've exceeded whatever that insert situation here that well all of a sudden you think you too good. And it's like, if you think about it just logically, that's what you worked for. That is literally why you put in the work, especially the work that you got to put in when ain't nobody else looking, they only see the results. That's exactly why you did it. You
Yep.
were supposed to rise above. You were supposed to come out better than, not better than somebody else, not better than other people, but better than some of the choices, behaviors, and situations that we used to partake in.
Yep.
For example, myself in getting control of my anger. There were times where, and I just use that one because that one is universal to a certain degree. A bunch of us need anger management of some sort. And even though I'm the happiest person in the world, I could go 0 to 100 real quick. I could also be the who you took insert expletives here. But there came a time in life where it's like, okay, now I really got to look at it. Could I still be out here cussing and fussing? And if somebody want to fight, well, pull up then. But the facts of the matter are, pull up. No, thank you. Don't touch me. Do I want to? No. But what I need to do, what would be wise of me to do, going to call the police is what
That.
I'm going to do. Because at the end of the day, even though to my flesh it would feel good to go ahead and give you exactly what you asking me for, my opportunities, the people that I'm responsible to, the people that I'm responsible for, my assets and my bank accounts say that I don't need to be rolling around in my front yard or in the front yard that you rent somewhere or that the government is paying for. I
Mm.
don't need to be rolling around in the ground dirtying up my, however much I had to pay for a sweater, which I know I love me a good sale. So look, I could have on an $800 sweater that I have gotten for 98% off. And if I find a deal like that for $50, please believe it's coming with me.
See.
But like and I have a message to protect as well.
Yes.
How can and sometimes that's people's MO to go out and prove, oh, Jessica hasn't changed. Jessica not really, you the same way you was in college. How long ago was college? The real question and the real ick is, why would you be the same thing that you were when we were in college?
Exactly.
That was a long time ago. And
Exactly.
so when you need to look at whether or not to separate or place boundaries around access to you, access to your resources, access to your time, your money, your home, your energy, how you will and won't react, it has to be done on a case by case basis, because sometimes that no contact is needed because you literally don't have time. You got growing to do. You have building to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and sometimes there is a space for setting those boundaries that will allow for a person to not be cut off completely, or a time bound boundary that will allow for a person to be able to return once they have grown to a certain level where you guys can coexist without being damaging to one another. Because even though, I've talked about the negatives of someone else not being healed or growing to a certain point, sometimes we do have to accept in all of our grownness and all of our positivity that we have radiated and all of the greatness that we have become, you just operating in the new version of you can be damaging to someone else.
True.
And here's why. You are a living, breathing, walking testament to what they could have been, what they desire to be, or what they won't work to become. Thereby, you're stirring up feelings in them that it's not the positive ones. And you could even be doing that to someone else, thinking that you're being encouraging, but really you're stirring the pot of their emotions. Now, is that your fault? No. The part about it that is, now that you're aware of that, now it is your fault if you continue to return to those people and continue to try to encourage, inspire, motivate, push them, because really you're not pushing them. You kind of pulling them along as dead weight, because either they're making the choice to not do it or they're not ready yet. And it's not your place to make somebody ready.
Mm.
So even in all of your success, you can still be damaging to the emotional state of someone else. And usually that's where you'll have folks that they're like, oh, you bragging, or you doing this or that. While it may not be your intent, you can't 100% say that, well, I'm not doing that, until you become aware of not only yourself, becoming aware of the other person, and to a certain degree, taking a little bit of ownership over the needs of someone else, whether they ask you to or not, so that you can read the room and you're able to move accordingly.
Yeah. Emotional intelligence and situational
Absolutely.
awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the skill, y'all. Like emotional intelligence and situational awareness. A couple of things I want to highlight out of all of that. One, exactly what you're talking about, the you think you better than, or who do you think you are, and like them watching you grow and getting the sandpaper, like feeling the sandpaper of you transforming while they're still wherever they are. And they could very well still be transforming too, just at a different pace, depending
Yes.
on the resources that they're using. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you're growing in separate paths, then obviously the transformation is going to look different on both parties. So I definitely wanted to touch on that. If you're somebody who perhaps you're like me and you're highly loyal, and like I mentioned the separation anxiety thing, right? Like when I connect with somebody, I connect with them. Like you gonna have to be the one to leave because I'm loyal. I love you. You know what I mean? So that's just how I roll. Hold on a second. Yeah, that's just how I roll. Like if you're with me, you're stuck with me. You know. And even with the growth thing, one important thing I did learn in the development of that emotional intelligence that we're talking about is how to recognize that point of dissonance where it's like, oh, the help is no longer helping. And it's important to be able to observe that in your relationships and know when to turn it down or to pull back a little bit so
Mm-hmm.
that you're not intentionally harming them or rubbing them the wrong way. Because again, you're just growing. Like trees grow because that's what they do. We as human beings were designed to grow. That's what we do. We learn, we adapt. Our brains are wired for novelty, to learn new things. And when we don't, There's an old saying that says familiarity breeds contempt. We become angry and frustrated after a while because we're still stuck in the same thing, knowing for a fact that time is continuing and yet our environment is not changing. That dissonance
Mm-hmm.
is frustrating, and the person will take it out on you, whether it's your fault or not. So I'm sharing this just to reframe this situation if you're going through it, so you're not taking it as personally as you might be right now. Like, why are they so mad at me? What did I do wrong? Maybe nothing. Maybe nothing. All of us as human beings are time bound. You're growing. They might be in a situation where they're not, or in some cases, they don't have the financial means or the relational means or the spiritual means to grow. They might be in a toxic relationship, in a toxic household. They might be in an underserved community where they don't have financial access to some of the resources you might have access to. Or even if it's not necessarily a lack thing, perhaps you have chosen to invest in yourself in a very specific way that they may not see as equally important. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you have your vision and you're like, in order for me to get over there, I'm gonna have to learn this thing and this thing from this person. I'm gonna have to invest in the coaching, or I'm gonna have to invest in this course. So I would love to, hear your take on that, just like the importance of self investment and why that's important in terms of developing and knowing who can't go, or who you can encourage to bring with you in some cases. Like, you're like, I'm going to invest in this and let me talk to so and so about it. Let me see if they're interested. Like, kind of talk about that.
Okay, so two things for me. One is I started to experience what I call quantum leaps
Mm-hmm.
in my personal growth journey, as well as the finances and the lifestyle to reflect that. And I say finances and lifestyle because it wasn't just a thing about money. When I say lifestyle, I mean access, I mean people, I mean resources, I mean environments, conversations, rooms. When I began to invest in myself, I invested in my first program. I couldn't afford it at the time. I didn't pay my phone bill that month so that I could invest $97 into a program that was running a special. And through that program, I showed up every day. I followed the instructions, and they had me to now notice I said that I couldn't afford $97. This big audacious goal that they had me to set was that I was going to pay off a $5,800 school bill by the end of 3 months.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, there's some big talk, there's some good stuff, but all right, I'll give it a shot. Let me see what you got. And I showed up, I did what I needed to do on the program each day. And by day 80, it was actually day 79. And
Wow.
so the morning of the 80th call that I was on, when we were doing our check-in, I was able to say, hey, when I started this out, I knew what I wanted, but I was skeptical of the process, procedure, and the coaching. But I followed the directions anyway, because I was like, look, obviously you know something that I don't. So even if it don't work, it's a long way between not having $97 and creating almost 6,000. And so when I follow the plan and the procedure, I listen to my coaches, even when I was like, well, I mean, it's a long shot. I don't necessarily believe this, but you do. So I'm going to follow your instruction. I'm going to follow the instruction of someone who does know, someone whose life reflects the type of life that I would like to live. And I was able to get, hit my goal before the 3 months was over. And from there, I continued to bump up the next program and set of products that was offered. There was a conference that was coming up that was like 197, and then from there I moved up to a $300 product. From there I moved up to a $500 product. From there I moved up to a $1,500 product. Now, mind you, this isn't like all in one year, but year over year, or well, let's say break this up into about maybe every 6 months type of thing. Each time the price increased for the next thing being offered, I would say the same thing. I would be like, oh, that's more than last time. I don't know if I can. But when I referred back to the results that I got from my previous investment, magically every time I'm like, oh, I can afford that. I do got enough money to pay for that. And I didn't not have to pay my phone bill so that I could afford it. Now, over time, the space from investing in myself, I went from not being able to afford 97 for that first program to participating in a $50,000 mastermind within a span of, within a span of 4 years. I was able to work my way from basically $100 to being in a $50,000 program. Now, one of the things that people said that I was stupid when I was giving this person $300. People said that I was wasting my money investing $500. When I was at the $300 level, I tapped my best friend, and she's like, "Well, you got some impressive results from your $97, so I'm gonna do the 300 with you." And the growth that we experienced together and being able to do things side by side, that helped to springboard me into the $500, the 1,500, moving up to the 5,000 and so on until we get to the $50,000 mastermind program. And so the biggest thing that I was able to take away from it was with the coaching, I followed the directions.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I didn't believe it, because I didn't think that I could do it, I'd be like, bump it, I'm gonna just do it then. And I would do it starting out with an attitude. But I'd be like, you know what? After the first few rounds, I'm like, I don't have to believe it. All I have to do is be consistent, stick to the plan, stick to the program, and do what you told me to do. Because you're believing for me in the beginning until you can show me to believe for myself. So it wasn't like it was just one program one time and all of a sudden, I'm just gonna run into it because I believe it. I No, it was literally I believed it because someone believed it for me until they were able to demonstrate that through my work I could believe myself. And then the second big component, I had mentioned, I brought in my best friend to do it with me. That was somebody from my life, just from my life, that I pulled into this journey with me. There were also people that I met during the journey at all of these different levels where it served as a community of accountability. Now, I had two different friends that I was really, really close with. We would spend a lot of time together. We would work together, do a lot of things. One, as I was growing, she came along for some of that teaching. Now, that's not to say that she stayed with me all the way through to the mastermind, but she had an idea of this new language that I was learning, the growth that I was experiencing. She was attached to and she was aware of, I know how you were led in that direction. So even though she didn't go with me that entire way, she understood it, and understood it to a point that anytime there was another level up, and she's just like, yeah, go bestie, I get it. I understand. I had another friend. This is like a rich dad, poor dad, but not rich friend, broke friend, but the two
Yeah.
different. Like I love both of them equally, but the relationship was shaped differently by my growth. My other friend, she wasn't interested in the growth journey. She wasn't interested in the personal development, the path. And even once I was able to show those results, that point where my family like, wait, you said you was listening to who? You sent me a video about what? Hold on, I'm coming to the conference with you this time. Oh, can we ride with you? Can I? So that we can start speaking that same type of language, because the things in your life are reflecting what you said that you've invested in yourself on. Now we see the returns. I know I'm a couple years late, but I see big returns. I want to do it too. All right, headed to the top. You coming? Come on, let's go. But I had the other friend that she was never interested in any of it. There started to come a point where I would be talking about the things, talking about the growth. She would see the tangible results. She only wanted to partake in the tangible results. She wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
concerned with the journey portion. And it didn't necessarily negatively impact our friendship, but it did change how much time we spent together, it did change how often that we talked, because our paths started to go in different directions a bit, where she was going on her lane at her pace and I was going on my lane at my pace. And so it, like, that's, to the audience, that's one of those places where it wasn't the drama, it wasn't the big blow up, it wasn't the, oh my God, you think you better than. It was just that our life paths led us to liking different things, being able to participate in different activities, having different types of enjoyments, having different rooms and different levels of access that everybody can't go. I can't bring everyone with me to everywhere that I'm able to go. And some of that is not my own choosing. Some of that is the person who invited me into that room will say, no, just you.
Mm.
And it's my job and up to me to not bring someone along to say, oh, we about to go to, because such and such invited us. Mm-mm. Because there have been a couple of doors that I done got to, and the person told me and the friend to our faces, like, nope, I invited you. I don't know who that is. Bye. Are you coming in or you staying out there with them? Yeah, it's cold blooded when you're talking about somebody get turned around at the door to the club for being fat. But when you're really talking about access to rooms and your invitation not having a plus one on there, and it has to do with the work that you have put in, who you have demonstrated yourself to become, that's one of those situations. You're not the bad guy. They're not the bad guy. And neither is the person that invited you when you made the,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say ill-informed decision, but the optimistic
Yeah.
decision to bring someone else along who they were not invited. But it's up to the person that owns the room. That sometimes they'll just tell you, that's great. You've done enough to become qualified. The person that you brought with you, they're not qualified to be here. They have to go. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's something that must be done. And so the two big things, investing in myself and continue and do the program. Because you
Mm-hmm.
can buy everything that you want to if you're not going to follow the directions. Because please believe that $97 program, there are some people that from that program, I'm still friends with them to this day. There are some people that when we moved from $97 a month to $500 a month, it was some people that was complaining. And I had to, hey, hold on. I need to, don't complain, because we've been in this program the same amount of time. You didn't follow directions and I did. So the next level, that's what we were here to do. Get to the next level. If you weren't prepared to be at the next level, it's because you didn't do the work sometimes. And
Yep.
point number two is that accountability piece. Having people who are like minded around. I started to
Yeah.
spend more time with one of the best friends who they were on that journey with me, learning that new language, seeing the new outcomes, and knowing the trajectory of what was to come, what my plan was. In my vision, I need to do this, this, and this. She was aware and seeing it and a part of it. And sometimes the folks that you would like to be accountability partners and the people that you would like to come with you, they aren't in it with you like that. They're not in the ring with you. They might be in a race with you, but they're just, they're on a different track. They're on a track that's adjacent. They're not at the same track. Like at the big baseball diamonds, back in the softball diamonds back in high school. We would get bussed out to this park. There were four games going on all at once. You had to know which softball diamond to be at, which baseball diamond to be at. Are you on the baseball side or are you on the softball side? Which of the four that's there, which one are you going to? A, B, C, or D? We're all doing the same thing, but sometimes it's on a different field, and that's okay. But you have to be aware of it so that you aren't allowing someone else to damage your vision, and also so that you can be aware and beware of being someone who is damaging someone else's vision, someone else's growth, someone else's journey in their path.
Yep. And then to perfectly add to that, to make sure you don't get pulled into somebody else's vision unwittingly,
Mm-hmm.
because guilty. That has happened to me on a couple of occasions. So this this conversation that Jessica's having, all of it stems back to what she said at the beginning, which is having your own vision, like starting with your own vision, like having an end in mind. Because here's the other point that I want to make sure we don't forget or miss. Having a vision saves you so much time, saves you so much time. Because once you're clear on who you want to become, where you're trying to go, then it's a lot easier to choose who you want to be with. Any opportunities that present themselves to you, you can know precisely when to say no. And then if there's anything
Mhm.
that you need to pray about, you already have the confidence that the answer God gives you is the right answer. That's supposed to be the case anyway. But if you're clear on your vision and you're second guessing yourself, then you already know whatever answer God gives you is on the same trajectory as your vision. So it saves you so much time. It spares you the self doubt. And when you have to tell people no, if that's a struggle for you, again, guilty. But when you're clear on your vision, your no is so much more confident because now you're not having to worry about, oh, they might take it personally if I tell them no, or what are they going to say? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to reject me? Your no is coming from a place of certainty because you understand whatever this opportunity is or whatever trajectory that person is on is not in alignment with where you want to go. So you're like, I love you, but I appreciate you, but I got to go this way. And I do want to reiterate what you said about inviting other people to rooms that they might not be invited to. Like you got the access yourself because of the way you invested in yourself and grew. But the person that's giving you the invitation, it might not even necessarily be that they don't see your friend as unqualified. It, it's simply the fact that I don't know this person. I know you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So the access is for you because I know you. I know your results. I know what you're capable of. This person's an absolute stranger. I don't know them. I don't know what they're capable of. They might contaminate the people in this room because there's that. Like there are times when people based on where they are in their life might disrupt a room in a way that is negative with their, for lack of a better word, immaturity. And I don't say that to like bash. I say that simply because it might be from a place of ignorance. Because they didn't make the same investment that you did, that we did, they might be, they might be missing some information. And because they don't understand
Mhm.
the culture of the room that you got invited to, their behavior in that room might cause some damage to them as the host. Because then the other people in the room is like, what you doing? Like,
What's
because now
that?
that speaks to the host's decision making. So if ever you're in that situation, like understand that it's not anything personal. Your friend that got uninvited, it's not necessarily anything personal against your friend. It is speaking to another core concept with the everybody can go movement, which is protecting your space. It's not just about boundaries for your body physically or for you emotionally. Sometimes protecting your space also has to do with the other people you're connected to, and you're protecting them as well as yourself.
One of the things that I had to be aware of when I'm the person that doesn't need to be in that room. And
Mm,
I forgot who it was. No, I remember who told me that. They one of my mentors pointed out to me that I control the spirit of the room when I
mm,
come in. And I'd only noticed it, of course, when I would walk into somewhere and a bunch of people like, just oh my God, everybody's happy to see me. I didn't realize on the days that Jessica doesn't quite feel like Jessica, and I think that I'm going to be able to come in quietly and stand to the side and just be quiet and mind my business. I didn't realize that when I would walk in and everybody's, oh, Jessica's here. I walked in quietly then too, but I walked in with a different energy about me, a different vibe. And so I had to pay attention to and take accountability for how I would show up on the days that I wasn't feeling the greatest, or choosing to bow out when I wasn't going to be able to show up and not bring the energy in the room down. I'm like, my bare minimum is I at least got to show up and be neutral.
Yeah.
I would prefer to raise the energy when I come in somewhere, even even in, serious situations, or because I noticed that happened in the corporate world as well. I can't come in on 10 and all happy go lucky, but there is still, when I come in, it's like, oh great, you're here, how's it going? People, like, I've came to find that they were expecting, my brightness, my cheeriness, my I everyone has a voice to me. I'd like to know how everyone's day is going. There's 20 of you in here. I'm going to look each person in the eye and make sure that, even though you're the quiet person on the side, or if you're the grouch over there, that's fine, I still want to know how you doing too. And even though you might not talk to nobody else, you can say that I'm tolerated, I guess. But because you know that it's gonna come from me every day, every time you see me, it's like, hey Jess, yep, I'm doing good, I'm fine. Great. Top of the morning. And they'll send me on my way. And I really had to pay attention to what different spaces looked like when I would have a tag along. One of my podcast episodes last year, I did an interview with JR, another podcast host, where we talked about when you're bringing somebody to a room so that you can put them on, and they end up just being a tag along, and how that can be damaging to your credibility. But like you said, it can also sway the environment of the room with, you doing too much, or you're doing the wrong thing, you're doing a lot, like, you know especially when you're talking about a group that is versatile, that you're able to have fun together, but sometimes it's like, no, it's business time right now. Sometimes it's the in-between time.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have our jokes and things at the beginning of the meeting. We've had many conversations where, at the beginning of our meeting, we're going to catch up a little bit. But there are also some days where we're both running short on time. And it's like, hey, we don't have time to meet for an hour. We got to do a 30-minute one. And while it feels so weird to just get straight into the meeting where it's like, okay, hey, that we're only going to talk business. I need you to do this, 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 and this. And I don't like it because it feels like I'm coming in and barking orders in a meeting, but it's what's required and it's what's needed. So even though I'm aware that the other people in the meeting aren't perceiving it that way, that they're not taking it that way, that doesn't take away from the uncomfortable feeling that I don't want to just come in and say, hey, we have 30 minutes. So these are the items that I have for you guys. Let me delegate. Do you have your items back for me? Let me check, dot, 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 and dot. It just feels so, it doesn't feel like a warm hug. And I don't like it, but it's what must be done for the success of the group. And what is most important, what is a part of the vision, is the getting the goal done, getting the event done, getting to the success of each of the team members involved, or everyone who is involved. I have to keep the goal in mind, because the larger overarching goal, that is what is more important than me feeling like I wanted to have cheery banter first, than me feeling like, oh, well, I'd like to bring you into this room because I want to put you on, or me feeling like if I hold you accountable for, hey, you weren't up to snuff, you ended up being a tag along, and I don't get to dictate how the other person receives that constructive criticism. And I also have to be mindful of, when I am giving that tidbit back, am I doing it from a place of like, oh, you embarrassed me? Or am I saying, hey, let's sit, we're gonna have a mini coaching session, because these were some things that I noticed and this is what it caused. Here are ways that you can improve. I don't know if I'll be able to provide you with this opportunity again, because I was able to present it to you, or to like have you in the environment for the opportunity, but you blew it. Sometimes you do only get that one shot. If
Yeah.
you and I know doggone well y'all done heard the song. And you know, since I'm from Detroit, I mean, I lived that song ever since it
Yep.
was released. But like you literally sometimes you do just have that one shot to make or break it. And when you get to that point and you don't have nothing to lose, you can either sink or swim. And being in a situation where you have nothing to lose, that can be a dangerous spot to be in because you can either fly and make everything of the opportunity, or because you ain't got nothing to lose anyway, you can go about it kind of blase and just, meh, it's cool. But that would also make me say, I need you to examine some of the other choices in your life. Is that why you don't have anything to lose? Because you don't hold things to a certain value or you don't like to see the value in things, whether it's the value in a lesson or the value in something that is nice, fuzzy, and the pink things, the glittery things, the unicorns and all the glitter and all the awesome things. It's easy to see the value and the happiness there, but are you able to see the value in your trauma? Are you able to see the value in your mistake? Are you able to see the value in your failure and then continue to operate from that and improve from it? So, yeah, and you have to hold spaces as valuable and people as valuable. And when they aren't willing to see or exercise the value that's there, mm, sometimes you just, I don't know, I'm pointing to the sign. Everybody can't go.
I wanted to pivot real quick to talk about the author activation weekend because great news, Jessica's going to be there. Super excited to have her back. And one of the reasons I wanted to have Jessica with us again is that she does have that author experience. So not only is she bringing the emotional intelligence piece, which again this year we're going to have that element, so that if you're someone who has navigated a trauma transition and you choose to make this investment in yourself and join us in Tennessee, Jessica will help you to be able to contextualize your experience to put it in the book so that you can actually help your readers. That way, you're not just bleeding all over the page. Some people do that. Some people, that is the writing process. But remember what my mission is with this show, and the mission is the same with the Author Activation Weekend, which is to help you heal through writing and publishing this first book. And by the end of the weekend, the goal is for you to have a completed rough draft. So you'll be self-published ready by the end of the weekend. Okay. So Jess is going to help you reframe some stuff. If it was a trauma, she's going to help you reframe it a little something, something. If it was a transition, she's going to help you reframe it so that you can present it to the people that need your help. Because your experience is your expertise. If you're somebody that's worried, well, I'm not an author, or I don't deserve to have my expertise, or out there, or who's going to listen to me, your experience is your expertise. And as you heard during tonight's conversation, Jessica's experiences aren't necessarily unique to her, but the lessons she learned were, because she interpreted those lessons the way she interpreted them based on the different coaching programs and different investments in herself and her spiritual experience. That part is unique to her. And y'all see Jessica is sprinkles and unicorns and rainbows and pink, everything. Just a very specific, unique frequency. Okay. And that resonates with people. So the way you speak, your vibe, that resonates with a certain group of people. They just don't know you yet. So join us in Tennessee, April 23rd to 26th for the Author Activation Weekend. And like, Jess, I would love to let our folks in on a little something, something, what you're expecting, like what you're looking forward to when you get there, and what your experience was with last year's retreat. Can I talk about that?
Oh, my retreat experience last year. Now, earlier in the conversation tonight, I told you guys that I would come with my little seed and then Mel would get a hold to it and it will become this thing. So, last year's Spring Forward Writers Retreat, I showed up with, I didn't even know it at the time that it was just a little seed. I showed up with the idea for a book. based upon another life experience and the lessons that I learned and was continuing to learn. And what I actually found, I continued to learn about that exact experience while I was at the retreat, while I was there for the author weekend. And there were so many additional things that I needed to add to my book. I was planning a book of maybe 120, 150 pages. I ended up with over 200 pages in my book because of all of the new information that I was exposed to, the different ways of thinking about expanding on my ideas. I thought that I was just going to hit you guys with a quick story and a lesson, but there was so much more that I needed to put into it so that I wasn't just telling you a story, but I was able to present it in a way that it solidifies me as wise counsel. If you ever heard my podcast, I always talk about making sure that you have wise counsel, not just somebody talking and up in your ear, because everybody always talking, running their mouth. And a percentage of the time, a great percentage of the time, they not that smart and probably need to shut up. But sometimes we don't know that yet. So making sure that I live the same thing that I say on my pod and the same thing that I'm teaching to other people. I saw a lot of areas where I could be wiser counsel, where I would be able to expand upon the lessons and to enrich the message that I wanted to get out to people. So I had a really amazing time. The environment itself, physically, the environment that we were in, it it was different than the writing spaces that I have at home. I have quiet, peaceful, ergonomically designed writing spaces in my home, and being at the authors retreat last year, it it activated my, like, I didn't have writer's block, but it took it to a whole nother level. Hence why I thought I was going in with writing 100 to 150 pages, but I came out with over 200 pages because the divine downloads, the things that I learned while I was there, the environment itself, for me to actually just like think on it and stew on it and resonate. It's the difference between just having some Zatarans gumbo and having some down home, like some New Orleans gumbo. Like, look, it was some a different depth. Like when I tell you she had the roof thick, okay, like it was a different depth with the teaching, the environment, the community, and the people that I was around. And there's a difference when you're writing your book and you look up, or when you go to get your snack, you are in community and in the same environment with other authors who are also taking their writing break, who are also noodling over some of the things that you guys just learned. It's different than you have your quiet space at home. You learn something and then you apply it. It's just you and, well, you and God in the room, and that's it. There's a difference with being in the room and being in that environment. So yes, my hopes for this year, I'm actually hoping for the same thing. I have an idea, and I have a concept. And again, I'm planning my little 150 pages. But I already know with the speaker roster that you've curated for this year, and looking at the itinerary and just the topics and the way that the program has been built out for this year with the author activation weekend, I'm 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 pretty much just ready to go in, getting to go in to get out more than I think that I'm going to, because that's exactly what happened for me the first time around doing this program with you and experiencing the F5 framework. The framework works, and I'm like, look, I'm ready for this. I'm excited because I know that whatever I finish and whatever I complete by the end of the weekend, I know that it's going to far exceed what I could pre-plan for what I think I'm going to accomplish when I get there. And you're always topping yourself, so I'm very sure that this year is going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing as well.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And yes, so if you're interested, go to myauthorweekend.com. You can see the full roster of speakers. You can download the schedule, even if you're somebody that's detail oriented. You like tactile things in your hand, or something you can print out, something you can digitally look at. You can see the full schedule. You'll see the full itinerary of what we're learning. So you're not just seeing a general schedule of we're doing this hour, this hour. You're going to see the actual curated process, like section by section, and see the flow of the information and see how it makes sense. Because between having a licensed mental health counselor there that's going to help our attendees revisit their trauma without reliving it so that they can write their book. This licensed mental health counselor is an author herself, so she will be speaking from experience. She won't be speaking from theory. And she has chosen to gift our VIPs with a copy of her book because I only run with cool people, y'all. I run with generous people. You know what I'm saying? So, Jess has her, incredible gift that she's gifting the VIPs as well. So, like, you hear me saying VIP often, right? Like, I'm pushing you, I'm nudging you towards choosing the VIP option, because not only are you going to see an incredible lineup of our VIP day, you're learning all of the things that you will need after your manuscript is done if you choose the VIP option. If you choose general admission or like the single room ticket, you'll get all of the value out of the weekend and you will have your manuscript done, but you'll miss out on what you're supposed to do after the manuscript is done, like what the next steps are. So we're pointing you towards that VIP step so you can get that process, what comes afterward, how your book can become a best-selling book, because if you're an author, you might as well go big, right? But additionally, if you hear some stuff, because it's a value-packed weekend, it's going to be a lot of information. You hear some stuff, maybe you missed the opportunity to take the notes, maybe you didn't get a chance to record it on your phone. You get 90-day access to the replays of all of the sessions, okay? So that comes with your VIP ticket. And the most fun part, in my opinion, and Jessica can probably agree, you get to bring a plus one. Hello. Bring your bestie, your partner, your spouse, your other, like, consider this the opposite of what Jessica and I was talking about. The VIP ticket is your permission to bring someone else into the room for the same price. This is me saying, bring your person that you know that can benefit from this. I won't turn them away. Bring your other person. Okay. So there's that. And then, as Jessica likes to point out with the accountability thing, the VIPs also get to do video promos for their book as well as headshots. So any kind of promotional stuff you need for your book, you get to handle all of it right on site in the rolling hills of Tennessee, April 23rd to 26th. So myauthorweekend.com. Jess, the floor is yours if you have anything else you want to add or share with our audience.
Well, I mean, this was another great one. I hope to see a handful of you guys because tickets are limited. So this is an exclusive thing. I know Mel doesn't like to brag on it as an exclusive, but at the end of the day, it is. It is. Because
It
I'm
is.
like, yeah, invite the great big wide world. And she's like, no, we are working with a certain number of people, and that is it. So make sure that you grab your tickets ASAP. We do only have a few left. So make sure that you grab your ticket ASAP. And you heard what I said earlier. Investing in yourself and having that partner for accountability. That makes all the difference in going from not being able to afford $97 to being able to just waltz into a $50,000 program and you get what you get out of it, you get what you need out of it, and continue to grow. So make sure that you take that opportunity, invest in yourself, and go ahead and bring that plus one. I'm already giving you a couple of little gems because part of the importance of investing in yourself and participating in a program like this, what it took us years to be able to build, we're condensing that process down into months for you, and we're giving you the blueprint in one weekend. for everything that you need to know. You don't have to do the research. You don't have to get all the things. You don't have to figure out at each step what you need to do. Based upon what your vision is, what is the purpose for your book, we are going to take you through exactly what you need to do. All you have to do is get your ticket and show up. From there, we got you. And the way that Mel has curated this itinerary, literally walking you through from A to Z. So, hope to see you guys in the next couple of weeks. Hope to see you guys at the author activation weekend. I'm excited. I, for one, cannot wait to get in the building because I already know that there are things they're waiting for me. There are gifts they're waiting for me, and also y'all know I look, gifts is my love language. She said, "What am I gonna give the VIPs?" I got a couple of things that I want to give to the VIPs, and then sometimes on the way I get happy, and it's like, "Just why did you bring all this stuff?" And I'm like, "Please, can I just give them this?" So make sure that you stop through, grab your swag bags, leave a little extra room in your suitcase because when you leave, you are going to need a few extra pounds, which I might need to keep in mind with all of this extra stuff that I'm going to be springing on mail. Like, here, put this in the bag, put this in the bag, put this in the bag. So the only thing that's going to have me chill a little bit is the weight restrictions on these flights. But even then, y'all know I can only control my chill so much. So make sure that you grab your ticket, grab your bestie, and come bestie, partner, spouse, your accountability partner, your right and homie, whomever, grab them, and I will see you at the author activation weekend. I cannot wait.
Was that a dope conversation or what? And there was a lot more for us to talk about. So you already know I'm likely going to have Jessica back on here because she's always fun to have on the show. And there's always so much to unpack in the conversation of relationships. So if you found this episode helpful, be sure to share it with your peoples. Of course, like, share, and subscribe here if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe at Getting the Win on YouTube. If you're an audiophile, you can find the show, Getting the Win Show, on Spotify. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show. And you can follow me on LinkedIn. That's Melissa Thomas, 2 L's and 2 S's on LinkedIn, okay? If you want to DM me, LinkedIn is the best place to do it. If you want to DM me on Instagram, follow me there first at Getting the Win Show and then DM me. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you have. Whatever ahas you got, drop them in the comments. And last reminder, myauthorweekend.com. Get your VIP ticket, bring your +1. That +1 is welcome into this community, into this room, so that you and that +1 can get your self-published ready rough draft completed by the end of the weekend. So in the meantime, in between time, have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. Peace.